This is a review for Season 6, Episode 2 of The Walking Dead. This episode was intense. We basically had almost 100% of non-stop action. When the episode started, I was like, okay, we're gonna have some backstory, we're gonna have a little bit of dialogue, we're gonna build the characters up, and then it was like, nope, a whole lot of people died. And the wolves' attack on Alexandria is why we need the Night's Watch, guys. Surprised to see the horn was accidental, did not see that coming. The truck makes me think, though, are they going to open the trailer and find walkers? Or were they going to put the people they killed in there to keep as walkers? Or keep some of them as slaves? We saw that guy in the chains. Or was it just a battering ram to take down the walls like we saw in Noah's community? And what did they mean when they said people like you don't belong here? Sane people, people that don't know how to defend themselves, people trying to hold on to civilization, and then also them saying we didn't choose. So was that we didn't choose to attack, we didn't choose this place to come after? Are they part of a pack where there actually is an alpha and the alpha tells them what to do? And the alpha said, hey, this is the next place we're going after, and they had no choice but to go through with it. I really am wondering what they meant by we didn't choose this. Because you could also interpret it as we didn't choose this life, we didn't choose for the apocalypse to happen, but now that it's here, this is what we need to do. Carol this episode was awesome sauce as usual. I loved her wolf disguise. She's a wolf who was disguised in sheep clothing, her Susie homemaker outfit, who then put on a wolf's costume. It was like wolfception. I was extremely worried about her the entire episode. I thought that someone was going to mistake her for an actual wolf and then snipe her, but thankfully that didn't happen. I also really liked how they showed she does feel this. She hasn't completely turned into an unstoppable monster. She has a conscience. I mentioned this last review, but I really like them showing how messed up these characters are. The psychology of The Walking Dead is just so fascinating. You have these characters that have experienced so much death and tragedy, they're going to break down no matter how strong they are. Carol sitting down, tears in her eyes with a cigarette, said so much to who she is and who she is becoming. I wonder if part of the guilt she felt was that she told her not to smoke inside, and because of that, Pasta Maker Lady died and wasn't in the house where Carol could protect her. I mean, she did tell her that smoking kills, so technically, Carol let her know ahead of time what was going to happen if she smoked. And then side note, Carol talking to the little boy and saying, you know, your dad used to abuse you and now he's dead, basically just get over it. Wow, that was like the pep talk of the year. Bravo. Morgan is interesting, and by interesting, I mean absolutely frustrating on every level of my being. He doesn't want to kill or can't, according to that guy, even though we know he can. He was a complete bamf with that staff, but still, letting them go just causes problems further down the road. For them or for somebody else. I mean, he has to know that. And does he really think threatening them is going to make them never come back again? Now they have a gun. Yeah, one gun, but it could still spell doom. And someone semi-important is going to get killed with that gun at some point. I can just feel it. And even before that moment, he's just taking his time tying them up. I mean, please, Morgan, take your time tying them up while the rest of the community is being butchered. I think that it's a little tight. Maybe you should loosen it. Do you want to get them a Kool-Aid? Maybe a pillow? Make sure they're propped up properly. Maybe sing them a lullaby. I don't know. And I loved when Carol came up and popped the guy in the head that Morgan was tying up. I get it. He's a pacifist Jedi now, even though Jedi know when to kill. But he has to get there is a time and a place. All life is precious. Alright, but what about all the other life that you're letting savagely get torn apart? Extremes and extreme stances are very, very rarely beneficial for anyone. Okay, bad guys, go away. Shame on you. Come back later when you have a better plan. I'm very disappointed in you. Jesse standing up to the wolf and fighting her and killing her was just majestic, and the fact that she remembered to stab her in the head afterwards, I am so proud. I was a bit sad, but I guess it worked when she played possum for a moment to sneak attack the woman. I think that she must have learned to do that from the times her husband was beating her. She would just pretend to be out so he'd stop. And Ron was so surprised to see his mom stabbing someone. Okay, maybe she got a little stab crazy, but I mean, he's seen how ruthless those people are, and she was left in the house to protect his little brother. Like, I'm having a hard time understanding Ron, and what I feel like is Ron is kind of the new Carl, but he's a teenager and not 10 years old. Which, I really need to point this out, Carl actually stayed in the house. He was told, stay in the house, and he did. Yeah, he went outside for a little bit to kill the wolf, but besides that, Carl listened. And then in a twist of events, he told someone else to get into a house. The circle is complete. But Ron, come on, dude. You're really gonna stay out there with the butcherers? I mean, I get it. Carl's dad killed your dad. You probably want to get home and see your mom so you could have another freak out and blame her for shit. But he seems like such a wimp. I have a really hard time believing that he would just want to be running around with the people butchering his community. He wouldn't get like a weapon or a gun or hide inside or something. I don't know. It seemed a little out there, but he was probably just adrenaline freaking out. Lastly, Enid's backstory was fun. Her actress seems to think she was only out for a few weeks before finding Alexandria, but I don't know. I'll take her word for it. Still think there's something going on with her besides being traumatized by her parents' death, but I guess we'll see. Best parts about this episode: the use of the kitchen timer to show how much time had passed. In 30 to 45 minutes, utter chaos had befallen the community. That was an amazingly creative tool to use. And then Morgan and Carol meeting and then walking in opposite directions. You can take this multiple ways. They are both literally and figuratively at a crossroads. Morgan realizing his extreme pacifism isn't going to work in this world, and Carol realizing that she still has empathy and compassion left for others and isn't a stone-hard killer. They are now beginning to travel down paths that the other has been on. Or they met in the middle, understood why each other did what they did, but refused to become that thing. They see the necessity in each other's actions, even if they don't approve. Or it could have been a big fuck you moment. I don't know. Worst part about this episode, we didn't get to see Father Gabriel dual-wielding pistols. Come back later for Comics vs. Show, where I discuss some of the biggest similarities and differences between the comics and this episode. Besides that, come back for Game of Thrones history, Star Wars, and comics.